Yeah. My name is Jason Ciosi. I'm originally from San Diego, California. Kind of been all over the place, all over the country with sports and stuff through college. Ended up at the University of Utah, finished playing football there, and kind of just settled there from after that. And honestly, didn't really pick up running until about 7 months ago. I've always been that guy who literally only runs at football practice or to train for football. So once football ended, I kind of just had this void of, okay, what do I do now? Like when you train for something for 15 years and then suddenly it's just one day gone, you're kind of just like, okay, I got to figure out something. And I honestly didn't know what that was. So kind of moved here, there after that, after college. And then honestly, my buddy Truman, he hit me up. He's like, hey, let's go run this little trail race up at Snowbird ski resort. All right. Like, don't really know like what that's all about. Looked up and it's like 8 miles. Like, okay, I can do 8 miles. Didn't really consider like elevation, stuff like that. That race ended up just rocking me. Like, definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. But that kind of sparked something in me. One, it definitely filled that void of giving me, something to train for consistently, have a goal to do this, do that. But I honestly just fell in love with the process again because it's a new process. But I honestly fell in love with like the dark side of running, which I feel like no one really talks about until you really start getting into, running and races, competing, things like that. It's just, you get to a place where it's just you versus you. And that's something that was kind of new for me. And so it really like allowed me to kind of just dive in like head first. And after that, I ran 5 races in the next 5 months. And so now here we are at down in Moab, looking freaking 50K in the eyes tomorrow morning. So yeah.
Wow. It's crazy how life puts us in interesting scenarios and positions, and especially when you go from being an athlete and not having an outlet. So that's really awesome to see that. Now, obviously this race is essentially in your backyard now. You're a California kid, but you played football at the Utes. You were an All-American, I believe, in college in football. And, now you're running races. Now, did you choose this race just because it was close to home? Was it in the backyard? Have you been inspired by people running in Moab? Was there something that said, hey, like I need to go run Moab? Or was this like, hey, like this would just be a cool race? What was it for you?
I think it was when Max Jolliffe dropped his King of Moab documentary on YouTube. I think it was like I just stumbled across it one night. It was probably like 11:30 at night. And like I literally just watched this hour-long documentary and just got freaking psyched out of my mind for just ultra running and like seeing him push himself like through the limits. I knew that Moab was definitely a place where runners go to compete, but also go to push the limits of their own body. So I knew that I needed to get down here as soon as I could.
I love that. Obviously you jumped right into racing. You have a pre-established physical background. Obviously, you said you didn't do a ton of running outside of your sport, but in what ways has being a Division I athlete to build that base, assisted you before you got into this? I mean, obviously it's completely different. There's a lot of different variables and things of that nature, but what are some of the character attributes and things that you now rely on or lean on from your past now that you're like, dang, I can take this out of my back pocket, and it's something that you have part of, you're going to develop new skills. What are some old skills, habits, characteristics that you brought with you that you feel like it's allowed you to go from, last year now running a half dozen races, to make something like that happen?
Yeah, honestly, there's a couple different things that I lean back towards. One is definitely like humility. I transferred schools. I went from a D3 to a D1, and doing that was like night and day difference. It felt like I had to learn a whole new sport. And from going from a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a ginormous pond, really had to humble myself and basically just say, okay, like, let's start from scratch here and just build back up. So definitely humility, but then also being able to push my body to new limits. So that's definitely something that I've been used to from even when my dad coached me in Pee Wee football. The conditioning, the sprints at practice, the, people passing out because they're not conditioned for the conditioning tests or things like that. But then also I'd probably say like camaraderie, really like surrounding yourself with like-minded people and people who are literally down for anything, down to train, down to lift, down to eat well, down to do whatever they can. So it's nice finding, a new community of people that feel the same way that I do, just because it's like, okay, I'm going from one family to a new family. And so those are just a couple different things. Yeah.
I love that. And, with that, running is, for me, there's two things. I'll split this up in twos is, up to this point, have you done most of your races? You said you maybe like a friend or two. But it's really, you've been part of a team sport for most of your life. And obviously everybody's got a job to do on the field, but it's a team sport, right? Running is not a team sport. So talk about that adjustment and, of like what that has done and meant for you, if there's been any adjustments that you've had to make. Obviously there's a level of camaraderie that we could talk about here with like ROO and things of that nature. And you could talk about how we're trying to incorporate to be more of like that. But up to this point, it's been really a solo journey for you. Share a little bit what that's done for you, like as a man and as an athlete to go through most of what you've gone through up to this point, except for a few months ago, like pretty much solo and obviously you have people around you and things of that nature, but it's like, they're not going to practice with you. You're doing most of your runs by yourself. You're doing most of these things and training in the dark and the cold by yourself. You don't have, you have camaraderie, like you said, but you're doing a lot of it alone. So talk a bit about that element now that you're, stepping into a solo sport.
Yeah. Honestly, it was a crazy transition. Like I remember running, those trail races with my boy when, my first two races, it was just like, I still had that same competitor in me from, football, but it was just like you said, it's transitioning from a team sport to a solo sport. But as every athlete is, they are competitive. And so it was really tough to see people passing me. And I'm like, dude, like I freaking trained for this. Like, all the early morning Saturday freaking long runs in the mountains, and then I look to my right and there's some 7-year-old dude just cranking away up the side of this mountain. And so it really humbled me. And I'm like, okay, this is truly like a you versus you sport. Like nobody else cares like how you did at the end of the day. It's just like, okay, did you finish? Like, yeah, you finished. So it's just like being so new as well. It's just like that. I don't know, who knows? Like that guy could have been racing for the last 40 years of his life. Like I started last month. So it's just like super humbling. And I had to like take a step. Like I had to bring my pride down. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah, this is just me versus me. And then once I kind of just like got in that headspace, then it really like allowed me to kind of just stay away from all the outside noise of, you know, buddies who like, hey, let's go out to dinner. I'm like, sorry, dog, I got to hit this. Training block says I got 8 miles tonight. Like I got to hit it. And they start thinking you're crazy. Like, what do you like, this is your whole personality now. Like, this is like, what, like this Jason's so like different. Like you're tripping, like just come eat with like the boys, whatever. And like, but they didn't understand that I have this goal down the road and I have to do these steps, even if it is friggin' 20 degrees, dark, snowy, icy roads. Like the training block doesn't care. Like, I mean, we're going to see on race day if the training paid off or if it didn't. And so like, it's just changed my perspective of honestly, like so many different things, from the training itself to being the crazy, obsessed person with this like new sport. But it's like, hey, like I'm pushing myself to new limits.
I love that. And to piggyback off of that, obviously now we are as a collective, you know, working towards building that next community, that next team aspect of things. Obviously, running will always have its individualism, but with the inception of Buckaroo, you were, you know, now in a group, sometimes not geographically in the same place, but in spirit, 100% of like-minded people that are really committed and focused and gritty and grimy and down to do the hard things. And so even though, and as it's going to grow, you know, it's cool because you're going to be a pioneer of something, and everything that I feel that is like noteworthy in life, there's going to be a select few people who pioneer things. And so share about, you know, being on the forefront of pioneering Buckaroo, what that means to you, what's it's inspired you to be like, and to, you know, if it has had any sort of effect on you, and then share what you're like really excited for, you know, as things continue to progress and the brand and the community continues to develop.
Yeah, I think like just off the top of my head, I remember the 100 miles throughout November, I want to say. And I know you came to me like long before that with an idea of Buckaroo and what we could be. And obviously like with BPN and, you know, the Go One More stuff, that's, I feel like everybody who's new kind of dives into that, and they're a freaking awesome company. And just being able to like try and build exactly what they've built, just obviously make it, you know, our own and our personal brand and things like that. But it takes me back to that 100 miles in November. Like you said, we're all across the country, you know, California, Arizona, Utah, you know, Texas, Missouri, wherever. My thing is, I knew that I was definitely one of the guys who were more experienced, even though I still feel like to this day I'm not experienced at all. But I had been putting the miles in, month after month. So I knew that, one, I needed to start off with a bang, and then I wanted to try and be the top finisher, like finish it first, do the most miles that month, this, that, the other. So I started off with a bang, boom, like I think it was like 20 miles, like day one. 2 days later, like I see another, like one of the other guys, like 20 miles. And I'm just like, who is this dude? Like, never met the guy. Like, honestly, you've never talked to the guy. Don't even know who this is. I just see him post on Strava, like, and now we're just going like back and forth and back and forth. And I'm like, my body's like begging me for a day off. But I'm like, dude, I can't take a day off. Like, homie over here is going to pass me like in the miles. I can't do this. Like, dude, I've never met the guy, but he's freaking motivating me to push to new limits. Like, I don't think I had ever ran 100 miles in a month prior to that. So it was just like, I knew that like once that happened, like we were going to build something pretty special, just with the amount of motivation and just like having people all over the country just buy into, what we're trying to do. And I honestly feel like we're just a bunch of misfits. Like, I know a lot of us, come from different like athletic backgrounds, and we're trying to just, we're all trying to fill that void of what was, and make it into what could be. And I think this is exactly what I've been looking for. And I know it's definitely what, you and a lot of these other guys and girls are looking for as well. Just building something from the ground up is going to be freaking so special. And like, I'm just so stoked that you kind of brought that idea to me. Like, honestly, that was like right when I was like really getting into racing. And I'm like, yes, dude, like, let's freaking do this. Like, this is exactly what I've always wanted to do. I've always been trying to come up with different business ideas, like this, that, but going into business, like with one of your boys, is every freaking guy's goal.
Right.
So it's just like I'm just super stoked to be in this situation, and just to be able to have the opportunity to just like pioneer this. Even though that I'm still brand new into this sport, I feel like others are, looking to me to lead them and kind of show them the way. And so it's been a cool thing to see as I'm still learning to still try and lead other people. Mm-hmm. And so it's just been a freaking phenomenal learning experience. And like, we're only going to learn more, and we're only going to go up and succeed.
Yeah. I mean, misfits is a good way to put it, man. It is really the misfits. Talking about the race, heading into tomorrow, obviously, like you said, you're learning a few things, and one of the key factors is you have to learn, you have to adapt, you have to change. And, obviously up to this point, you've probably, through that race experience, just share a little bit about some key things. If there's any like one moment or funny story that you could share from an early race, or any of the races that in your youth of it, or your amateurism of the event, something happened, probably wasn't funny, or maybe it was funny in the moment, depending on where you're at in terms of your mental mindset. But share a funny story, or a story where you're like, yeah, never doing that again. Or, yeah, I'm learning from this when this is done, when this is over. Like, if there was any of those aha moments early on that like really forced you to say, yeah, I'm never making this mistake again, if you have a story.
Yeah, I think I was kind of telling this story to you in the car, but it was my first marathon. It was the Big Cottonwood Canyon Marathon. So the first 20 miles of that race is downhill. And so I think the elevation drop was like 4,000 to 5,000 feet of drop. And I think going into that race, it had honestly been the worst. Like, that morning was the worst I had ever felt for a run. Well, like, we're going to be in for a long day. Started the race off like it was going honestly perfect. Like, had planned to, kind of just try and fly through the downhill. End up flying through the downhill. I'm on top, I'm on track for a phenomenal finish time. We get out of the canyon. We are hitting about mile 22. And I realize I'm out of water. I have no scratch, no electrolytes, no nothing in my other bottle. And I have one sleeve of Cliff Energy gummies. And then I hit the infamous wall. Prior to that, whatever, this wall that everyone speaks of, whatever, like, it's not going to faze me. Like, I've been training for this, that, the other. And I get absolutely cooked. These aid stations feel like they're 10 miles apart. And in some prior races, to go to like a dark place, I turn on some Goggins. I just need Goggins to call me a bitch, keep going. I throw Goggins on the headphones. And I am in such a dark place that Goggins is not motivated me. And I just take the headphones off and I'm like, well, 4 miles left. Like, I guess we're just raw dogging this. No headphones, no nothing. Like, definitely in the darkest place I had been, and my body was wrecked. And so through that experience, obviously, like, I started to learn the importance of sodium intake, electrolytes, proper fueling. Probably not a good idea to go into a marathon with only 3 packets of gummies. So that was definitely funny story of getting rocked. Goggins didn't help me out. Sorry, Goggins. But yeah, the importance of just nutrition and everything leading up to the race, but also, learning on the fly in the race too.
And so tomorrow you are competing in a 50K, just like 31 miles. And obviously you've already done 26.2, but it was, a road race, right? Yeah. It was on a road.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a road race. And so tomorrow will be the longest race you've ever done. And it'll also be in a ultra format that's going to be with some unique terrain. Obviously, running on the road versus running through Moab, Utah, there's going to be some key differences to that. Share about the terrain, the technicality of things, and a little bit of your methodology. Tomorrow, obviously, it's another new element. So it's you've done these other races before. You had your trail race was 8 miles. But so you got a taste of some elevation. You got a taste of running trails. But now you're doing 4 times that tomorrow with some elevation, with refueling stations, things of that nature, in a different technical aspect as well. So share, like, going into tomorrow, what some of those technical things that you look forward to that you're going to probably learn on, and share some things that you feel like you're well prepared for.
Yeah. So obviously one off the top of my head is just the elevation, gang, the climbing, the hills coming down. Something that I learned prior and just through running, trails, whether that was the race or just training trails, is actually how important it is to walk the steep up hills. Prior, I'd try and run that and just gas out beyond fast. So that's something, honestly, probably the biggest thing is walk the uphills and then run the downhills. And obviously running the downhills can get super sketchy. Whether that's, if you're going down bigger boulders or just like, loose gravel here, there, like one step can ruin your entire race. Honestly, one step can DNF you. So just like not being able to like get caught up like in the scenery of things. Yeah, freaking Moab's gorgeous. Like I'm going to have a blast running through everything, but like you can't get too caught up in, everything around you. Like one step can really change the, your entire race, the entire day. And so probably like trying to find that balance of having fun, enjoying the race, but also, being attentive and being locked in. But I think like tomorrow I'm hoping there's not too much sand, because obviously nobody likes running in sand. We did a little shakeout run today in some definitely like softer dirt. That wasn't fun, but honestly glad we did that, just because if there is some soft dirt, I can definitely, power through that. But then, yeah, I mean, there's going to be slick rocks. I'm not too sure how the climb's going to be. I can't imagine I'd be, crawling up anything on my hands, knees, whatever, but there's been prior races where I thought that same thing. And next thing you know, I'm scaling up the side of this freaking mountain. But yeah, I think just being able to, one, have fun, but compete tomorrow is probably the biggest thing that I'm excited for.
I love that. We got a couple more questions here. Who or what are you running for out there tomorrow?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, probably a couple different variations and reasons why. I think getting into like endurance sports, and one is kind of just to prove people that one, like I am enough, that I can do hard things, that, yeah, I think it's just like more of like an internal battle with myself. In some circumstances, just trying to deal with, the loss of certain things and certain people, and just with like just life. I mean, in general. I mean, I think that's why people get in the ultras, is just because it is honestly like kind of symbolic of life in general. There's going to be ups and downs in life, and there's going to be ups and downs in this race tomorrow. And you can't just, you got to ride the highs, but also you got to ride the lows. Like you got to allow yourself to feel the pain, feel the hurt, because that's really when you begin to grow and things like that. And I think the second biggest thing that I've been racing for, and honestly that I kind of live my life this way, is my brother. He passed away back in 2008. and I've got his initials tattooed on me. So he's definitely like my guardian angel. And I kind of live my life in a way that he would feel proud that, that I'm his brother. And there's been races where it's like super tough parts in races where like I kind of feel his like presence, that he's like there to, help me out. And I think that's another thing that I kind of chase. So it's like that high in some of those moments was just like kind of feeling his presence, like, hey, like I'm here, like definitely proud of you. But also feeling those lows is just as important as feeling those highs. And I think those are the two things that I'm kind of chasing with this whole endurance thing.
I love that, man. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Last one here. I think this is a good one, and you can close it out after this. Is that when this race is over, the dust settles. Obviously, you eat some pizza and you enjoy some things. What's next for you? Obviously, we got to enjoy the moment. I think that's something too, as a competitor, that in ultra racing, I'm going to do a lot better at, is enjoying the process. Like, this is fun. These things are awesome. I feel like a lot of my I think this is my second chance to compete, but I'll be aware of life and know how special these things are, because I've already I'm 32. I'm a little older than you. And so you reminisce a lot when you get older, especially if you have kids and you have a lot of responsibilities. So, obviously, we want to focus on what's next, so talk about what this moment means to you, and then talk about what this moment means to you now and what it's going to build for in terms of what's next for you.
Yeah, this is definitely like, I'd say a crucial like stepping stone for me. One, just like in this space in the sport. But two, also a crucial stepping stone for the business that we're trying to build. I think this is the first, ultra that we have been a part of since starting ROO. And so we're obviously only going to go higher from here. Obviously, this is a 50K. And I'm honestly really just focused on cranking tomorrow out. But I've already got a 50 miler in Sedona that I've got on the calendar. And then from there, I've already got a backyard ultra that I'm eyeing on the calendar, and then a 100 miler at the end of the year that I have yet to dial in the calendar, but the thoughts are already locked in the back of my head. So definitely probably not all there mentally, because who goes from running a marathon in October to a year later, probably their same timeline, running 100 miles. So yeah, I'm just going to ride the high of building this brand, but also ride the high of the lows, and ride the high of freaking pushing my body to the absolute limits.
Yeah, I love that. I'll ask you one more, because this is cool. Obviously I probably have a little bit less of a runway than you do in terms of what I have left in the tank to compete. This has inspired me a lot. And, I've gotten in good shape, and I'm losing fat. I've gotten really committed, and I want to also be not only an active role, in the business, because I know we're in the business together, but I want to be an active participant, not only as crewing and stuff, but in the racing and things of that nature. And we're going to get to race, together, at some point in time. This is like the start of it. And so share a little bit about your excitement of, obviously when you normally work for a brand, you're not really, I think that's why BPN did so well for so long, is Nick really led probably know Nick Bear. I have a lot of great leadership qualities, I think. And I just hope that me being who I am can inspire also the people that are around me. Because also too, you know, I'm equally as a little twisted as ever. You know, I'm going from a half marathon to a 50 to 100. So share your excitement to be able to build a brand, you know, with myself and then with people around you that, you know, are also going to be part of it. Because, you know, a lot of times you work or build a brand, or you're part of something in terms of like a brand or sponsorship. You know, the people who run the company aren't doing the hard thing. So, you know, does that matter to you? Does it not matter to you? Is it cool? Just like an icing on the top? Like, what does that mean to you, you know, with Buckaroo?
Yeah, I think just like having people see that the founders of this company, the founders of this brand are in the freaking trenches with, you know, the consumer, the people, you know, that are going to be able to take our products and things like that. And just being able to inspire, like you were saying, is phenomenal. Like I've always dreamt of being on this side of the camera, being on this side of the starting line, and just being able to motivate somebody else. Like you see all these documentaries that, you know, Nick Bear or Max Stoller for freaking Truett trying to do all this stuff. Like you see these guys and they're so motivational, and you always think like, could that be me? Like, what do they kind of have that I don't? And I think just being in this position is obviously like ecstatic, but also like very humbling and going to be like a phenomenal learning experience for the both of us. But like I said, I think just being able to help motivate people and seeing that a group of misfits can do it, why can't they? You know, so it's just like, just having that is got me so fired up about, you know, building this whole thing. But then also like, you know, ex-athletes seeing this as well and being like, hey, like maybe I should try out, you know, a half marathon or something and see if I kind of like that, kind of fall in love with the process and things like that. So I think just trying to help people better themselves, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, you know, socially. Like we're trying to build like a community, a brand, a family, and I'm beyond stoked for it.
I love it. I love it. Last one here is, if you were to give, say for in the future, it could be for this tomorrow. We'll think tomorrow because I don't want to think too far ahead. Say you're, you know, at mile 25, you're almost to, you know, the marathon mark, and you still got, you know, some mileage ahead of you, and maybe your body starts, you know, to slowly shut down, and, you know, the doubt starts to creep in, you know, fresh from now, like when you're fresh right now, and is, you know, what message do you want to say or share to yourself when you're going through that moment? Because sometimes it's hard to forget right here when you're there. And I've been there many times in my life. And sometimes the moment there has overpowered what really should be from here and carried there. So if you were to at least set the standard and send a message to yourself, what would the message be when you're going through it and you're going through that dark place and you just needed a little bit of wisdom from yourself?
Yeah. I'd probably say that you are enough. You have trained for this. You've been in this situation before, even if I haven't, you know, if I'm on mile 27, technically I haven't, but just you've been in similar situations, whether that's in a run or whether that's, you know, in a dark place in life. And I think just I've always been the type of guy when I'm going through like, you know, hard things that like I've always dealt with it as I'm, you know, just like degrading myself, like kind of just like bringing myself down. Like there's, you know, all the bad self-talk. And I think running has switched that and made me realize that like I actually have to give myself like think good thoughts instead of like all like in that Goggins voice, like I'm just a bitch. No, like maybe, but at the same time, it's like, no, like this is just one moment in time that you're down. Like you've been here, you can do this. You know, you are enough. Like you've trained your ass off for this. And so I just think like the small things are going to be the big things come tomorrow. The reminder of the late nights, the cold weather, this, that. I've already done the hard part. Now I just have to enjoy the process.
Love it, brother. Appreciate you, dude. That was awesome, man.